my very first 5-star of the year. I ate this book up. I feel like I can't put a star rating on somebody's story. Hey, what's up? My name is Ange. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be going over the 5 books that I read in the month of January. This is the very first reading wrap-up of 2025, which is really weird. I mean, I posted one technically in 2025 because it was December's wrap-up, but these are the first 5 books that I have read in 2025, so this is very, very, very exciting. We're going to go in order from first read to most recent read. We're going to have some honorable mentions of books that I started but have not finished. Unfortunately, I was not able to finish, so these are the 5 books. We had a good lineup this month of books, one to read, because my TBR video was very interesting. But besides that, I feel like the books that I did read were very different. Like, there was a lot going on this month. Let's pull up Notion, where I track everything that I ever do about literally anything. And let's start with the very first book that I read. The very first book that I read was The Grace Year by Kim Liggett. This was my book club read for the month of January. If you don't know, my friends and I choose a book every single month that we are going to read together, and then we post a video on my YouTube channel here. So that video already is out. We all finished this book very, very early in the month, so we were able to get this filmed and uploaded for everybody before the month was even over. This book is set in Garner County, where girls are banished for their 16th year to release their magic into the wild so that they can return purified and ready for marriage. But not all of them make it home alive. Tyranny James dreams of a better life, but as her own Grace Year draws near, she quickly realizes that there's more to fear about the Grace Year than the brutal elements and the poachers in the woods. Their greatest threat may very well be each other. If you would like a full review from not only me, but also my friends as well, you can head on over to that video. That video is out now to see what we thought about this book. We definitely dissected this book to its complete ability, at least I think so. So I'll give you my shortened version of what I thought about this one. I give this one 4 stars. It was a very good book to start off the year with. I thought that it was very interesting, different from what I feel like I normally read. In the 16th year, the girls are all gathered, and then they are kind of sent away into the woods to just be alone for an entire year and try and survive. They release their magic, do all their things there. So in winter is when it really started to pick up for me. The very first season, when they were introducing the story, kind of explaining what everything is, I was very bored. So I don't know the percentage of it. But once we actually got into the story, I was very, very interested. Like, I couldn't put it down. I actually read it on Kindle. I didn't even read it in paperback. So I was like, swipe, 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 swipe. I loved it. This part is a spoiler. When you know about the little red flowers, if you've read this book, you know what I'm talking about and how important it is. What comes with that at the end was extremely interesting to me. How women band together and the strength of the women in Garner County. I thought that it was very interesting. Again, you'll know what I'm talking about. And I really, really grew to love Tyranny, because at first I was not really a big fan of her. Overall, like, this was an incredible book to read. It felt very empowering, if that makes sense. Like, once I sat back and really thought about it, I was like, all around, it was just a really, really great book. So I believe that this was Cam who chose this book for January. So shout out to Cam, because this was a great way to start off the year. I highly recommend this book. I've been seeing it everywhere lately. I hadn't heard about it before. Cameron had recommended it, but I really, really loved it. The next book that I read was Indigo Ridge by Devney Perry. I actually read this on the plane when I had gone to Disney. So the majority of my plane ride back and forth to Florida was me reading this book. So this is book number 1 in the Eden series, and this one is about Winslow Covington, and she just recently moved to Quincy, Montana to be the new chief of police. Her grandfather is the mayor. I believe he was the mayor. Her first night in town, she's like sitting at a bar, and then she decides to have a one-night stand with a local, or who she didn't think was a local, but it ended up being Griffin Eden, whose family like basically owns and operates the town. So it was a really huge mistake, and she's trying to forget it, but they cannot stay away from each other. She thought it was best to avoid him until all of a sudden a woman is found dead on his property, and she is kind of forced to be intertwined with him in some way. So then that's where it picks up from there. I ate this book up. This book, I gave it 4 stars. This small town murder mystery vibey kind of book was right up my alley and exactly what I needed at the time. It was so interesting. It was a very quick read. I really enjoyed all of the characters. I love the Eden family. I'm obsessed with them. I already downloaded the second book on my Kindle because I only have the first physical book. The Eden family is just so interesting. I love the small town vibe and the actual murder that happens in this book. I was so shocked when I found out who actually did it. So if you read this and you know, like, I was shocked. I don't know if I just missed all of the signs or what, but if you didn't read it yet and you do read it after this video, let me know what you think, because I was absolutely shocked. The protectiveness of Griffin, like, Griffin is probably, I'm looking at the other books that I have here, definitely my favorite male character so far. I don't know. Never mind. I might take that back. I don't know. All the men that I read about in these books, pretty great. Winslow, great female main character, and the chemistry between the two, like, are you kidding? I thought that it was just great. I'm really excited to continue on. I also like that the ending, is it technically an epilogue? I think it's the epilogue. Yeah, the epilogue leads into what I believe is the next book, because I don't know what the next book is about. Yes. So the epilogue leads into what the next book is about, which is very interesting. I like when it does stuff like that. I'll get into something on that same kind of idea in my review of the next book, but so I thought that it was really interesting that it led into the next book, so I'm excited for that. All around, I'm really excited for this, but yet I started another series, so that's gonna be great. Highly recommend. Quick read. Very interesting. The next book that I read was my very first 5-star of the year, and that was King of Sloth by Anna Huang. This is a book number 4 in the Kings of Sin series. If you have been watching my channel for a while now, you know that I have been putting this book off for a really long time. Why? I don't know. I just hadn't reached for it, and then all of a sudden I picked it up and I was like, you know what? We're finally gonna read you. So this book is about Xavier Castillo, and he is charming, easygoing, he's extremely rich, and he has no interest in taking over his father's company. And then, not his father's company, he has no interest in taking over his father's empire. Women throw themselves at him left and right, but he doesn't want anyone except for his publicist. So that is Sloane Kensington, and she's a high-powered publicist who's used to dealing with difficult clients. However, none infuriate her more than Xavier Castillo, of course. So they don't like each other, but they like each other. At least she doesn't. She wants to pretend like she doesn't like him, but like, how can you not, kind of thing. He loves to rile her up, and nothing brings him more joy than that. And then a tragedy forces them closer together, so they're forced to spend this time together, and then everything kind of goes from there. I absolutely love Anna Huang. I'm a big Twisted series fan, also the Kings of Sin series. I have read every single one of them. I'm really excited for the next one to come out. I have to admit, like, this series is, I think I love this more than I love the Twisted series. Each one of these characters are so interesting. Again, I gave this one 5 stars. I absolutely ate this one up. The chemistry between the characters, the very strong, like, badass female main character, she was amazing. The crumbs that we got from all of the other books, like, all the men from the Twisted series is in here, or at least they're mentioned. Same with the Kings of Sin series. Like, I like that they're all intertwined like that. Like, how they all go to Valhalla, the club, or they all... this one knows this one. Oh, call this one if you need help with your security cameras. Like, go call Christian Harper. It's like, Christian Harper? Are you kidding? Him again? I love it. So I love Anna Huang, probably one of my favorite authors of all time. The men that she writes are amazing, but the women that she writes, like, probably my favorite female main characters ever. Anna Huang can do no wrong in my eyes. Literally no wrong. So this book was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. I put this book off for way too long. End of story. I should have read it earlier, but I didn't. But I'm really happy that this was the one that became my first 5-star read of 2025. The next book that I read was a book that I had bought in the summertime by an author that everybody is reading her books right now. However, I have not jumped on the Fourth Wing train yet. But I read The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. I bought this one when I went to the Jennifer Lynn Barnes signing back in, I believe it was July or August or something like that, in Union Square. This book is about Ella. Ella has twins. She's not with the twins' dad, and she is running a Airbnb kind of cabin-y thing over in Colorado. She does not have any parents, no grandparents, nothing. It's just her twins, and the people that also live on this Airbnb thing. I believe they work for her. And she has a brother named Ryan, who is in, I believe, was it Marines, Army? I can't remember. In the military. He kind of sets his sister up to write to somebody that he's in there with. His name is Beckett. Ryan wrote his last letter, so, like, if I ever pass, you're who gets this letter. So he wrote it to Beckett, and he says, if you know this, you know the last letter drill, you made it and I didn't. So get off the guilt train, because I know if there was any chance you could have saved me, you would have. I need one thing from you. Get out of the army and get to Telluride and go be with my sister, because something is going to happen and she needs somebody. She's too independent and won't accept any help easily, but she has lost her grandmother, our parents, and now me, and it's far too much for anyone to endure, and it's not fair. Go be with my sister, help with my sister. So when they're in the army, they couldn't really write, like, he couldn't write his name. He couldn't tell her where he was going to be. So she doesn't know him as Beckett Gentry. She knows her as Chaos, or she knows him as Chaos. So when Ryan passes, and then it was so much for Beckett that he couldn't write back to her, she also thought that he died. So all of a sudden, Beckett shows up at her door with Havoc, his dog, and says, like, oh, Ryan sent me. And she's like, okay, well, what about Chaos? And he's like, and doesn't tell her that it's him. So that was really interesting. Ella has a lot going on in her life with her twins and everything like that, but I'll keep that a secret on what's happening with that. Let's just talk. I rated this book 4 stars. I'll tell you why. I figured this book was not going to have a happy ending when there was still such a large percentage left, and when we found out about something being okay now. I'm gonna leave it like that. But when that large percentage was left, when it was like, I'll say like this much of the book was left and everything was like happy go sunshine, everything's great, I was like, no, it's not going to be. The last 10%, I'm reading exactly my review. The last 10% or so of this book dropped it down an entire star rating for me. I will never understand why the ending had to happen. So this was my review the minute that I stopped reading it. Other than how angry I am at the ending, this book had me tearing up but also loving it every second. I just wish the ending didn't happen the way that it did. Upon further review, I have to say, I think that it was a bad ending, but I think that it was a good ending and made sense, because life isn't always perfect. Like, you think you're out of the clear and you're not always out of the clear, if that makes sense at all. If you've read this book, you know what I'm talking about. It broke my heart. It made me cry. It made me happy. I loved Beckett. I thought that he was amazing. I loved Havoc. I love the twins. I love Ella. I loved all the characters in this book. I thought that it was really, really interesting. It did make me sad, like, from page 4. I was already tearing up and upset about the things that were happening, the topic that is making Ella go through a lot with her twins. It was really good. It just made me sad. Like I said, I jumped on the Rebecca Yarros train, but I didn't jump on the Fourth Wing train yet, so I'll get to that eventually. This one was really good. I do recommend it. I thought that it was good. Same with King of Sloth. I don't know if I said that, but I do also recommend this book, Indigo Ridge, Gracie, all of these, like, I recommend. I was unhappy with the ending. I understand maybe why the ending had to happen, but I still don't really agree with it. I was talking to my boyfriend about this book, and he was like, yeah, but, like, that's a good ending because you didn't expect it. I'm like, yeah, but, like, I get it. Life can't be happy, sunshine, rainbows, all that all the time, but did it have to happen to that person? Okay, I'll leave it at that. If you want your heart ripped out of your chest, stomped on, run over by a truck, pick this one up. It was really good, though. I liked it. It's crazy. So the last book that I read this month was actually a memoir. I listened to this book on Spotify. I don't remember even where I found this book from. I don't know how I stumbled across it, but listening to a memoir voiced by the author, I think was the only way that I could do it. I feel like it hit you different on the topics that this person was talking about. It made a lot of sense, and then I did pick up the physical copy. So the last book, and I don't give ratings to memoirs. I don't give ratings to novellas, not anymore at least. So I feel like I can't put a star rating on somebody's story in that sense, somebody's real life story. So the last book that I read was A Stolen Life by J.C. Dugard. This memoir is about, in the summer of June of 1991, I was a normal kid. I did normal things. I had friends and a mother that loved me. I was a kid just like you until the day my life was stolen. For 18 years, I was a prisoner. I was an object for someone to use and abuse. For 18 years, I was not allowed to speak my own name. I became a mother and was forced to be a sister. For 18 years, I survived an impossible situation. On August 26, 2009, I took my name back. My name is JC Lee Dugard. I don't think of myself as a victim. I simply survived an intolerable situation. A stolen life is my story, in my own words, in my own way, exactly as I remember it. So JC Dugard was kidnapped while walking to her bus stop in June of 1991 by a man who I will not name. If you would like to go and research this case, I am a true crime person. I listen to the Crime Junkie podcast. I listen to all those things. I pay a lot of attention to stories and stuff that is going on in real life, things that have happened. And then for 18 years, she was held in this person's backyard by him and his wife in a tent. She goes through everything that happened. And then one day his secret was discovered, and JC and her daughters were able to be rescued out of this place and brought back and reunited with her mother, her sister, and her aunt back to what her life should have been. Was crying a lot of this book. I was very teary-eyed listening to what was going on. I remember seeing, I think I was about 7 or 8 at the time, August 26th of 2009, so I was 8 years old, and I remember actually seeing this on the TV when she was found. And for this to be a case that I had been familiar with, but then hearing it from her voice and her point of view, that what was going on in there hurt my heart so bad, to see her at like 11 years old and see what she had been going through. So it was insane. I don't have much of like an opinion on it per se. Like, who am I to put my opinion on somebody's life and someone's experiences? But if you are interested in her story and interested in true crime and things that had happened to her, if you had been following her story, then I thought that this was a very interesting read. It's a lot though, so make sure that you pay attention to what the topics are that she covers in this book, and remember that this was a real life person that something actually happened to, so keep that in mind when you make a review or read this book. So I left off on I would say a high note, being able to read her story after knowing who she was and not knowing that this existed. So this one was very interesting. So that ends it. Those are all of the books that I read this month. I'm taking like a look at it, and I feel like that's like a good like range, like I said earlier on in the video. Loved each and every one of them. I don't think that there was any ones that I didn't like this month, so everything was really great. Highly recommend every single one of these books if you are into the same things as I am. But like I said with this book, please pay attention to the topics that she covers if you need to. All of these books, like we've got some sad books in here, we got some romance books in here, we got good books, like everything's great. But that brings these to an end. I do want to honorably mention that I am almost done with 1,000 Broken Pieces by Tilly Cole. That is book number 2 in 1,000 Boy Kisses. I don't know if there's going to be more than just the 2. I have like about 80 pages left, but I was just unable to finish that. So that was really interesting. You'll see that in the February wrap up. And also I am about 20% of the way through the tandem read for Throne of Glass, which is Empire Storms and Tower of Dawn. So that is going to be my main focus for the month of February. I really want to get through those immediately. So those 2 are going to be on the radar. See those in February, because I am determined to finish the tandem read this month and also finish 1,000 Broken Pieces. But that brings this video to an end. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all next time. Bye!